Hello there, and then welcome to a brand new lesson. This is How Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. In this lesson, we are looking at an introduction to fraction. We'll look at all the concept or the basic concept we need to understand before being able to solve fraction related problems. So without much ado, let's quickly look into it. So talking of fraction, fraction is just a mathematical term that represents a part to whole relationship. So when you have any object or any material at all, and you consider it as a whole, then there's a need for you to first of all divide it into equal parts. If you are able to divide it into equal parts and you take some, that becomes the part or the portion you are taking out of a whole. Let's look at the visual concept to this definition here. So with this image we have over here, it's a circle. Now, if I consider it as a whole, and I divide it into what? 4 equal portions, then I can say that this portion over here is a fraction of the whole. You see, it is a fraction of the whole. The same applies to what? This side over here. It is a fraction. So far as I'm not taking the whole thing, it is a fraction of the whole. Same applies to this. And you can see that they've all been divided into equal portions. Now, with that said, mathematically, fractions are written as an A over B. So A over B here, I mean A over your B. Now, this A we have over here, we usually call it the numerator. Now, the B over here becomes your denominator. What does this numerator and then denominator mean in terms of fraction? Now take note, there is also another part we have over here. You see, so this line I have written, okay, and that is the fraction bar. So talking of the numerator, or first of all, let's consider the denominator. So the denominator, which is at the bottom, is usually the number of equal divisions of the whole. You see, so the number of equal divisions. So if you have to take this example we have, assuming we were to express it as a fraction, then looking at the number of equal divisions, we have 1, 2, 3, and then 4. It simply means we are going to get what? 4 as our denominator. 4 as our denominator. On the other hand, the numerator, which is usually at the top, is telling you that out of the total number of divisions, how many are you picking out? You see, how many are you picking out? So we can say the numerator is the parts taken. Now, the last one, which is this you have here, that is the fraction bar, is simply divided by. So with that said, how then do we read fractions? How do we read fractions? So if you have a fraction such as this here, how are you going to read it? Now, we know our numerator is 3 and our denominator is 4. So to read this, what you say is it is 3 over 4. So 3 over 4. Let me just choose to write it in words. Now, apart from choosing to write it as 3 over 4, we said this is divided by, that is this symbol you have over here. So you can also choose to write it as 3 divided by 4. Apart from 3 divided by 4, you can also call it as 3/4. So 3, then you have your 4th. All right. Now, this is generally how you read a fraction. But there are some fractions, we call them benchmark fractions. They have special names. For instance, 1 over 2. 1 over 2 can be called half. You see, these ones, they are commonly used. Hence, they have their own names. Now, 1 over 3, on the other hand, is also going to be a third. You see, so a third. Also, 1 over 4 So 1 over 4 is a quarter. And the list goes on and on and on. So now that we have the basics of fraction, let's look at how we can solve some questions relating to it. Looking at our first question here, it says what fraction of an hour is 20 minutes? What fraction of an hour is 20 minutes? So before we can do that, we need what quantity represents the whole. You see, so the whole quantity here we are talking about is an hour. So the whole is 1 hour. Now the part they are talking about is 20 minutes. So 20 minutes. Now before we can express it as a fraction, then we need all the units to be the same. So instead of 1 hour, we can rewrite it as 60 minutes. And remember, we said for fraction, your A over B. The A, which is your numerator, is the part. And then the B, which is your denominator, becomes the whole. You see? So our B now is the whole, which is what? 60 minutes. So 60 equal portions, that is the minutes. Then how many out of the 60 are we taking? 20. So 20 minutes, you see. And that simply gives us a 20 over 60. In our subsequent lessons, we'll be looking at what we call simplification of fractions and all that. And you realize that anytime you have something like this, you can just choose to write it as what? 2 over 6 or 1 over what? 3. Right? But for now, let's leave it this way as 20 over the 60. So it simply means what fraction of an hour is 20 minutes? That is 20 over 60. Or if we were to simplify, we'll say that what? A third or 1 over 3. Now, this is just a few, but then you have to know that fraction has got so many applications in real life, as you would see later on in this playlist. Let's look at this other question. Okay, so for this second question here, all it says is a class has 15 students. You see, now 7 of them are girls. And then we have to write the fraction that represents the girls in the class. Since we are talking of the whole class, then for the whole class, we are talking of what? 15 students. You see, 15 total, 15 as the total number of students. Now we are being saying we are being told that 7 are girls. That is part. You see, so part of the whole, we are talking of what? 7 of these 15 students being girls. So if you want the fraction, which is what? A over B, where A is our what? Numerator, and then B is our denominator. Then the part becomes what? 7 over the whole 15. Now, even though it wasn't asked, what if we were told to actually look for the fraction that represents boys? So for boys, you are going to need a number of boys. And the number of boys, how are you going to get it? We know since they are students, if you are not a girl, you are a boy. So if there are 7 girls, it simply means there are 8 boys. So if there are 8 boys, then the fraction of boys is then going to be what? The number of boys, or the part that represents boys, which is 8, over the whole, which is what? 15. This being the introduction or the introductory video to fraction, I wouldn't go into details to solve much complex problems. But we'll end here and we'll continue in our subsequent lesson. Now, as I usually do, I'll leave you with some exercises or some try questions just to test your understanding. So here are the try questions you have, and you are just to what? Follow what we have done here to be able to solve them. This is how Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. If this is your first time on this channel, you can choose to subscribe if you so do wish, so that anytime I release a video, you'll be notified as well. You can also check on the playlist where I would continue these lessons. I do hope this video was helpful. See you in our next lesson, and bye for now. Stay blessed.